Alright, so we're back with the Sea King, and I was debating on changing the water pump, or looking at the water pump, and I said, you know what, like I said, let's just do it right. So, quick pop the power head bolts off, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to pop this cover off the back here to get to the last motor mount bolt, and we'll peel this gasket off here and put a new power head base gasket there. And then in doing so, I did break where the shifter connects to the top. A piece broke off for whatever reason, so I'll have to hit eBay and see if I get lucky find this piece, which just goes to the handle here, and then it hooks up there, which connects to the shifter. And here's our lower unit. Connects to that there. Not bad. Impeller's, you know, used, not in pieces. That's good. That'll all come apart. We're gonna reseal this monster because you can see it's kind of saturated. I haven't popped the bottom off yet. I haven't checked the gears or anything. But that would be next. Pop the prop off, pop off the skeg, we check the gears, reseal up the whole unit. It's really easy on these. These tend to be a little easier to reseal. We're gonna clean up. I'm gonna pop that roll pin out with my new roll pin punch. I bought some roll pins. I should have new pins. And we'll clean it up. It's just dirty. It's dirty, oily, but pretty clean. Clean power head. So, a little carbon buildup and stuff. I think this is gonna run nice. So we're playing around with the Sea King 5. Disassembled the whole lower unit because, like I was saying, it was all saturated. So I wanted to get it apart and started tackling the seals. And first thing I noticed when I pulled the gear case off, there was water in the bottom. It wasn't milky because the oil it's been sitting for so long it separated. So it came out straight water, and then it came out oil after that. Okay, then the first thing I did notice was my clutch dog is beat to one really bad. I haven't even looked at the inside gear. The inside gear looks good. There's no wear on the inner teeth there. The clutch dog itself, that's a lot of wear. I'm assuming that if I put this back in service, it's gonna jump that tooth. I've had it happen before. So I happen to have a spare clutch dog. I'm gonna throw that on there and see it's better. This one is more rounded on an edge than I've ever seen. So if you see that, most likely when you put it under a load, it's gonna slip off and jump into gear. So after checking the clutch dog out, I checked the gears. And the gears actually look fine. It's the clutch dog itself that looks worn. So we're gonna swap the clutch dog out. That's that. Second thing I noticed was my plate. It looks like someone tried to pull the seal out of there without taking this plate off first, and it's cracked. It's cracked all the way around here. So unfortunately, this plate tends to go for about $100 on eBay, but that's the shot. So I'm gonna have to get a new plate, and everything else looks okay. It's just dirty. So we're gonna clean it up, and we'll reseal it. I can kind of show how and what I'm doing with that, and that's where we're at. So we're gonna reseal this lower part. We're gonna reassemble the upper part, and we'll go from there. Quick trip life hack. The gasket is sealed pretty solid to the thing. Instead of scraping and elbow greasing it off, nice trick I find is to use this stuff. Premium stripper from Clean Strip. Spray it on there and let it sit. And I mean let it sit. Don't get antsy. Let it sit 45 minutes, and that gasket it will just pull right off. Always use gloves. That stuff is nasty. It'll make your skin tingle, crawl, itch, rash. And make sure you don't spray anything else because it'll pull the paint off or anything. So I got some gasket material that's stuck there. I'm going to spray it and I'm going to let it sit for a good 45 minutes, and it'll pull right off. So in pulling the seal out of the prop shaft carrier, I ended up using the seal puller tool. It's $80. The setup of it is annoying as hell. I mean, not annoying. You have to actually read to find out how to use this thing. But once you get it, you don't have to grip it on the vise. Just stop the outer carrier from coming up so that the seal can do the work. The seal comes right out. It's really not that hard. You just stick the thing in there and you screw a couple things, set it up, and then use the big nut. And it really lifts the seal right out. I know some people drill and tap and stuff, but this tool, $80, did the job. Just got to play with it. So wasn't too bad. Okay, quick update on the 50, whatever I said. Quick update. Lower unit plate was cracked, right? So I said to myself, let me order a plate online, or I got a perfectly functioning lower unit. This is off the 5.5, which that's the 7.5. 5.5, I can't get running. It ran before I took it apart, fixed the rod knock, put it all together. Fuel, spark, compression, won't run, won't start, won't bog, won't start on starting fluid, won't yada yada. We're not about this motor. We'll get there later. So I figured since I got a nice functioning lower unit from that one that isn't doing anything, let's swap the lower units. They're supposed to be identical. Make sure you know what you're doing. Make sure. I'm telling myself. I'm not telling you guys. I'm telling myself. So I just clicked through the lower unit in this, thinking, no problem, good to go, here we are. Put everything up, put it together, swap some parts, put the power head on, and oopsie, about a 1/16 of clearance, this thing would not fit flat. What does dumb blackout Bill do? Force it on there. What happened? The drive shaft is longer on the 5.5 than it is on this Sea King. I don't know if it's a year thing, if it's a model number, whatever. Didn't even think to check. Saw something was a problem. Instead of looking at it, I forced it. So what happens? I cracked the block. So essentially, this power head is now done. Even though I got spark and I bought a carb kit and I put the carb on, I was ready to run it. What we're gonna do is, since my new Evinrude tool came in, this takes out the shift rod seal and installs the shift rod seal. They don't make this anymore. Boats.net finally had it. I'll link the description to it. It's only 11 bucks. Get yours before they run out. If they do run out, you can go to boats.net. I'm not going to tell you his name, but ask the people. You need a shift rod installer tool. I believe a couple of the guys make it, and they'll charge you pretty cheap as well. That helps. If you don't have that, do the old 5/16 threaded rod trick. Flip the thing upside down, bang it out. The threaded rod might nick the bushing. You don't need to worry about the bushing. It'll take your O-rod out, and then you just use some sort of socket like this to tap it back in. No problems. So I didn't want to pay the $100 for the new plate. I took the plate off this lower unit. I'm going to put this back together. We're going to put it on here, cracked block and all, and let's see what we got, because I got nothing else for it. I don't think I'll ever find another 68 or whatever year this is, 58 Sea King motor like this. So this is it. This is what we got. Worst case scenario, we'll make a Franken motor out of the ones that aren't running, and we'll go from there. Okay, so I'll finish this up. I'll show you the process, and then we'll get to go. Sorry for the weird videos. I love to show you the work, but I'm on a 1 to 9 shift, and I can either test the motors in the morning before I go to work and work on them at night, or vice versa. It snowed here in New Jersey. I can't do any outside work. I'm trying to get everything done before my actual work job. So I'll try to video me putting this lower unit, because I still got to reseal the bottom. So I'll show you how to reseal the bottom. I already resealed the bearing carrier. I think I have that on video. And then I just didn't show how I took the plate off and did the bushing. But that's another video. It's all over YouTube. But if anybody wants to see it, I got a couple more lower units to do. This one is now without a plate because I took the plate off it. The plate that was cracked. So this is going to have to be resealed anyway, so we can reseal that. I have a couple seal kits ready to go. We'll show all of that. See if we can edit any of this. And yeah, so there's the 5.5. I guess that's a different video. All right. Okay, so we're reassembling the lower unit, and we just slid the shift rod through the hole. But with this model where it has this metal clip here, so the shift rod kind of grooves in. It's kind of hard to push this straight through with clip in the way, but you gotta finagle it. It'll go in eventually. And when that's in, you make sure your gear case is all assembled properly. Clutch dog in the middle, reverse gear, forward gear. Newly sealed bearing carrier. And then you got a hole in the bottom, and you got the little tab there on the carrier. Slip it on through, make sure that you have an apparatus that holds your lower unit properly so it doesn't fall like mine. I'm also backwards. Your hole in the bottom and your tab on the bottom. It's easier to mark the top here so that you know where your hole is. That's what she said. And then push it, push down. Make sure your shift rod isn't in the way. Make sure it's down far enough. There she goes. Okay, so you can feel that fit into place. Okay, good with the shift rod. Let's pull it up a little one. shifter. You can actually put some gasket sealing compound or underneath here. I was actually gonna do that and I just forgot. Now this is in, so it's not required. You can do it if you want. I wish I had the right tools for the job, because then my lower unit would stay in place. Clean your gasket sealing, your gasket surfaces with like an acetone or a clean rag. Don't do what I'm doing, which is a dirty rag. And I think most people use a 3M here. 3M 847, popular, buy it. Clutch, shoe assembly goes in the top of the clutch dog. I'm gonna push it down so it holds so it don't slide and pull out. And then I would like to, spaghetti seal. So we have the lower skeg. I want to put my seal in. Spaghetti seal is always too long. You just trim it. You can trim both sides, or you can just kind of. I like to leave a scotch. I mean, a little bit. See, it's barely hanging out there. That's where I leave it. That's like perfect. And then what I'll do with it, when you push this down, that'll push out and fill it in. So, that being said, take it back out. The excess you can throw away, it's too short to do anything with. And we'll just throw it in there. This stuff is super sticky, so you don't have to go crazy with it. Put a little there too. You just see how sticky it is. It'll leave a string everywhere and gets really like everywhere. It gets everywhere. It gets everywhere. And we'll there. You can add some to our bearing carrier. You could even add it here if you wanted to. We'll see what the glue does after we stick our thing in. This part gets tricky because once it's in, then it like just becomes, like you got to stick it on. You kind of get like one shot at it. If the spaghetti seal pops out, then you got to recheck it. It can be frustrating. So don't get frustrated like I do. There we go. It's pushed in. I've spread it around. See how it like webs up? That's how sticky this shit is. So. And it dries quick. I'm actually gonna throw a quick, while that spaghetti seal is sealing, quick little boop. Bead, and I mean a little bead. I'm not gonna go nuts with it. You probably could use gasket sealer here. Form a gasket. I'm gonna use the 3M here. And it's webbing up, which is fine. So everything's in. I'm just gonna place it down. And then what you need to do is you need to line up the pinhole with the pivot pin in the clutch dog. That's the tricky part. One B Blackout Bill with a fresh cocktail. And align your pin with your, and then the kit comes with a new O-ring for that pin, and then you gotta kind of eyeball and line it up. Sometimes you can stick a punch. A little bit. Or like a small Phillips screwdriver. Get the hole where you want it. There you go. Yep. And then when everything's lined up, the skeg will be flat. You can spread your squeezed out grease if you like. And then of course with these you take your typical crisscross pattern from the inside out. Right now I'm just getting them snug, praying that it doesn't fall, which I know it's gonna. That's it, lower unit's done. Wear shoes, because that almost stuck through my foot. Hope you can see what I'm doing. That's it. Lower unit's in place. Now we can put the prop on and install it in the engine. Check for binding, make sure it spins. Water pump's brand new, so it's really hard. Actually, it's impossible to spin the drive shaft by hand. So let's see if we can put it up in the power head. Gotta put a roll pin in there, and then I'm gonna grease the spline. Roll pins in, splines greased, not on the top, just on the sides. Top's gotta be clean. Now there's also a water tube in here. I want to make sure that goes in where it's supposed to go. Okay. And then we want to slide the bolt up and in. From 7/16 bolt. To hold up. Okay, and what you're left is this. Next step is to stick your shifter on. Actually, should have. You can line this up ahead of time. I have to pull that bolt out to line it up. Oh, she get lucky. Come on, baby. Right, so there we go. I was able to shift it down, so now I can rotate the apparatus. Maneuver it this way. Nothing's ever easy. Ever. It's usually the easy part.
Just guiding it into the hole there. It just doesn't want to work. Cute, isn't it? Makes you question why you do this for fun. It's supposed to be fun. Okay. Now that it's in, it's 3/8 nut. If you drop it, you gotta pull it all the way back out. So don't drop it. Okay. Loosen that tight there. Then there's a star washer. Star washer, where are you? Down in there like that. And then the other, and they're little brass ones. It's kind of hard to mistake them. Little brass 3/8 after that. Don't drop it. If you're me, you drop your wrench 100 times into the pit of misery, dilly dilly. And you snug it. Be crazy tight with it. And that's it. That's what stops your shifter. That's what stops your lower unit from dropping. So whenever you gotta change a water pump in these older models, the 50s models, you gotta pull a power head. It is what it is. Now, little brass holder, and that rests on top of the roll pin I showed you I installed. Okay. Then your spring, which will rest on that. This will obviously be more centered this way. Then, on top of the spring is the carbon fiber holder with a rubber O-ring. Make sure that's in good shape. 5.5 one goes on top of the spring with the O-ring on top. Okay, that'll squeeze into there. You can aid the process. There she goes. Okay, and then up like this so that you can fit your rubber, carbon fiber, not carbon fiber, but piece. Anyway, like that. Fits around just perfectly, and that's it. Now you fit your power head on top. It's supposed to be an effortless part. Let us see. The power head is 180 degrees. So we're gonna stick the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever bottom bolts in. Alright, so once you get your 6 power head bolts buttoned up, then you can tighten up your 4 7/16 nuts, bolts there.
If you just fire it up, I'd be happy. Doesn't have to run the water. Don't think I'll make any money on this one, but it's always nice to take stuff apart. Now we're going to put the exhaust shield on now that the bolt is in the power head.
I don't know. I got high hopes for this one. Blind high hopes. You never know. You never know. The good ones never work, the bad ones tend to work. It's a little tight. It's not spinning nicely as I want, but that could be because everything's dry, water pump, everything. We're still okay. Okay, so the Sea King's reassembled. A couple new fuel lines, some fresh gear oil. I put the prop on. I put the plugs in it. I checked for spark and everything. Put some new fuel lines, like I said. So It's amazing, these older motors, especially the Sea-King model. Nowadays you flip the cowling off, flip the cowling on, just to get the pull start hooked up, unless you wanted to take the rope off the front, which I didn't want to do. You have to hook the whole 4 bolts, line up the mounting brackets, put a vice grip in the rope so you can line up the pull start first, and then put the cover on top, undo the paint. So in any case, we're ready for our first pull start tomorrow morning. I'm going to
Moment of truth. See what we got. Actually, I have kind of high hopes for this one. Actually, that means the spark plugs are crossed. Yeah. Usually that means the plugs are crossed. Yeah, across the plugs. I'm wondering if the guy originally did work. Set this all up backwards. Let's try that. It's a good sign. Okay. Bring it in. That's a great sign. Hey, she runs! Better than most of my other motors. Ready for the problem? Oh no! Oh, did I mess this block up? It ain't fair! So once I run, I got it, bro. Oh man! Pump of water in every spot possible. Oh, that's a shame. Oh, don't force things, ladies and gentlemen. Force things will break things. Oh, that's a shame. Look at her purring. No, the water pump's working. Actually, I'm leaking on the other side too. Probably because I don't have a good seal right there. Final verdict. Sea-King is toast. R.I.P. Nothing. Took the gear case apart. It's in gear. So that means this drive shaft in this power head is stripped. Yay! Another blackout film failure. Ta-da! Runs like a top though. I don't know if you can replace the gear in the power head. That cracked plate and other signs, symptoms tells me this guy hit something nasty. He hit something nasty. The shock absorber busted through the plate, took the splines right off the effing drive shaft. Drive shaft looked clean. The lower gear in the power head must be stripped. I kind of thought that. I kind of thought that when I tried to undo the flywheel, it just kept spinning, but I didn't think it would. Anywho, sometimes projects just don't work out. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe. Help me out. Get to 1,000.